Before going to bed last night, I marveled at Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. Even a lot of non-believers know about John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoso believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Jesus did that. Now, many people may not understand how Jesus going on the cross and giving up his life, or some would say being killed, even though he said, no one takes his life, but he lays it down and he will also pick it back up. Many people may not understand the spiritual implications of him going on the cross, and how him doing that was him taking our sins upon himself. But Jesus, the way throughout his ministry, he kept on hinting at Judas, the one who'd betray him. He knew from the beginning who'd betray him. And likewise, Jesus knew that despite the sufferings he endured before the cross and on the cross, that people would hear about his sacrifice and they would still reject him. The same way before his crucifixion, people spat on him, slapped him. That in a sense, spiritually, that's what many people throughout the ages would do to him. In a sense, to crucify him afresh. But he still did it. Now, this doesn't compare. But I remember being in Iraq. And you could say he was a POW, a combatant, or a former combatant. He was in a hospital, handcuffed to the bed. And I was told that he had been treated before. A couple of ways of knowing. In fact, I think before he had a chest cut down, or a chest tube. That's one way of removing blood or other fluids from the lungs. So they put a chest tube in. He still had marks from where he was treated. And then he still fought against coalition forces, and he got injured again, and he was still getting treated. And some would be like, this guy refuses to quit. Why not just let him die for his cause? Well, of course, there are laws of war regarding treating him. And I suspect for as long as he continued fighting, if he got hurt, he'd be taken into custody and he'd be treated the way a former combatant is treated as a non-combatant. In a sense, it kind of demonstrates the love of the Lord. Where so many people have transgressed against the Lord, he forgives them. They keep on transgressing against him, but he keeps on lovingly forgiving them. Now, there are limits. In Romans 1, 2 Thessalonians 2, it speaks about the Lord handing people over to their lust or a strong delusion. But before that happens, the Lord lovingly forgives. And when you look at the world today, isn't it incredible how the Lord knew that things that would go on throughout the ages and still go on the cross? If many of us were in that situation, be like, Father, you want me to do that for them? You see what they're going to do through it? But he did it. He did it. So truly, when we were yet sinners, he died for us. So yes, it is incredible how the Lord knew how many would desecrate his name, to include using his name as a curse word. How many would desecrate his name, would desecrate his sacrifice, yet he still did it. That is marvelous. How do you treat someone if you knew the person was going to stab you in your back? Especially if the person did it again and you know the person's going to do it even more. Jesus forgave. That is why the other part of this message is woe unto those who reject God's grace, because eventually it runs out. So while I marvel at God's grace, I also fear his judgment. He's gracious until he's not. Jesus paid a tremendous price. And people have time to abuse it. But there are many who have received their judgment, or at least been tossed into hell, waiting for the lake of fire and brimstone. And if they could have only had one more chance. But for them it is too late. But for now, I marvel that the Lord knew how many wicked things would go on after he made the sacrifice, yet he still did it. I pray this message blesses you. God bless you. And Jesus the Christ. Whew, I respect him even more, is Lord.